My name is Neneng Sarini. My research proposal, the title is The Use of Reading Aloud Strategy in Improving Student Reading Comprehension in 10th grade of student SMA Negeri 1 Montebah. My design, my proposal using classroom action research design. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Neneng. Now, I would like to invite the discussion from the student. I would like to invite Abdul Malik Aziz to start.
All right.
Please,
thank you very much for the opportunity, sir. And for Neneng, as the discussion one, I have two questions for you. The first one is to clarify, why do you separate the meaning of reading and reading comprehension in the frame of theory? Ini seperti membedakan, kenapa kamu membedakan reading and reading comprehension. So what do you mean by this? And is there a significant difference between the two of them? And the second question is, in your research design, is there any theory from some experts? Because I don't see any theory in your proposal actually for the explanation section, especially in the research design itself. That's my questions. Thank you very much, Neneng. And sir, thank you very much.
Okay, Neneng. Yeah, please.
All right.
Respond.
For your question. This question, the reason why I separate them in my frame of theory is because there are big difference between reading and reading comprehension. Reading is the ability to read in order to gain information. Meanwhile, reading comprehension is the ability to understand what you are reading. Is that clear?
I think for the first question, is that clear enough for me? I think you can answer the question number 2.
Right. For question number 2, for my research design, that's truly my fault for not add any theory expert, especially theory of car, because car is must state from expert theory, but I forgot to add it to my research. For example, I should add theory from Gwyn Methodol. She state car is a reflective process in which instructors gather empirical to improve their teaching practice. So it's truly my fault for that I did it on my research design, and that's it. Is it clear?
I think that is clear enough for me. So I think my suggestion is you may input some experts, as you say before, in some details, especially in here is the explanation of research design itself. That's my suggestion for you, Neneng. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much to Malik for the suggestion.
Okay, now next, thank you, Abdul Malik. Next, the discussion is Azian Shah Irbal. Please have your time.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So for Neneng's first questions, I would like to ask about what special property that reading aloud have to improve students' reading comprehension?
All right, thank you so much, Infal, for your question. I think there's no special property in reading aloud. In reading aloud, we still use any kind of appropriate text, story, fables, or any other. So how does that improve reading comprehension? Reading aloud commonly used in any classes, and target of reading aloud is the skill of audio learner. By reading aloud, the learner improves their information processing skill by hearing their friend in the front reading a text. Reading aloud sharpens your focus and eliminate distraction. If you are not focused, you're not able to understand what the speaker are saying. So that is why I think reading aloud is the best way to improve reading comprehension. Is it clear, Elfa?
Okay, thank you, Neneng. So for number 2, from my questions is about from my understanding, reading aloud usually used by teachers to teach children. But is it appropriate for high school students to learn from reading aloud?
Uh, it is really appropriate, I think, because if it is appropriate for the young learner, it is appropriate for high school student. As long as you choose the right material and appropriate material for the student, I think reading aloud is still appropriate for high school student. Thank you. Is it clear?
Okay, thank you, Neng. Neng, for my last question is about how you will implement reading aloud in the classroom.
Thank you. For reading aloud, it's really easy to implement in the classroom because I think a lot of students already know how to what is reading aloud. So the first thing that I do is just write book and just student randomly who will present in the class and ask their friend to listen, ask the listener to write down what they understand from the text and ask them to submit all retelling it. Thank you very much. Is it clear?
Thank you very much, Neneng. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Ziansa. Do you have any suggestion, Ziansa?
Yes, sir. For my suggestions, I think Neneng must, for Neneng, I think you need to really plan this carefully because reading aloud is usually used by teacher to teach children. I think you need the right materials or the right media for it to be appropriate for high school students. So I think that's all for me, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, Neneng, so now it is my turn to, to ask questions and clarification, and also to explain perhaps the things or the parts that are not clear yet. So that's include the suggestions, for revision, for the future revision. All right, so now let's start from, let me share your proposal. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the keyword here is reading aloud as strategy, and reading comprehension. I agree with what your friend said. Reading aloud is usually used to teach children to start reading. Now, but in your case, you are using reading aloud strategy to improve reading comprehension. And you also have explained that reading and reading comprehension is different. The emphasis of reading comprehension is on the comprehension. So meaning that the purpose of reading is to comprehend the text. Now, can you explain once again, what do you mean by reading aloud strategy? Do you mean that teacher asks the students to read the text with sound? I mean, with so with sound, so that the other students or the other friends can hear the reading, or reading aloud means that the reader itself, him or herself, could listen or hear the reading, not reading like by heart, so then it's without sound arrow or words. Yeah. And strategy here, reading aloud strategy seems to be more than just reading aloud. Because strategy indicates that there are perhaps a few other activities. So then the ability to read, to get comprehension from reading is possible. Now, I want you to make, let's say once more explanation. What do you mean by that? Neneng, so please.
Explain about reading aloud, sir.
Yes.
All right. So what I mean by reading aloud here, in my case, because I will use classroom action research, when I was in SMA Negeri 1 Tebah, a lot of students have a lot of reading and reading comprehension because they are not care about English because they think English is useless and they don't want to learn about it. But the teacher pushed us to keep learn about to read and to comprehend something. So what I mean by reading comprehension here, by reading a lot here, the teacher asked one of student to come to the front of the class and read a story or a text from the teacher, and the other student listen to the presenter in the front, and they have to read what they understand from the text that the reader read in the front. After that, they have to submit to the teacher, so the teacher will see who's understand about the information that already being taught by the reader.
Okay, do you think that strategy is good for understanding?
In my cases, sir, yes, because the teacher can push them to understand, to listen. I mean, if they're not listening to the reader in the front and they don't get the information, the teacher will give them 0 and also will expel them from the English class because that means they don't want to learn English.
So do you mean that reading aloud is just to attract student attention?
No, sir, because for the reader who's present in the class, it helps the student to improve their fluency and improve pronunciation and vocabulary.
But pronunciation and fluency is not directly related to comprehension. Reading comprehension, reading comprehension doesn't require fluency or pronunciations. If speaking, yes, yeah, speaking requires require pronunciation and fluency. Now, which activity do you think, when reading aloud is conducted or is done, which activity of reading aloud do you think help the student to understand the text?
I think when the teacher asks them to write down what they get from the reader. I think that's when they have it help them to understand, to gain information, to help them to gain information.
Okay. All right. So now I asked this thing, I mean, reading aloud. That's indicate that you have to, what do you call it? You have to focus on that idea, because as I said before, your keywords, one of your keywords is reading aloud strategy. So now reading aloud strategy are the activities to read, yeah, in whatever activities you are not really clear here, yeah, in your proposal. Now, that's the important or the central ideas of your proposal. So that's why this need to be cleared, yeah, to be explained in great detail what you mean by reading aloud strategy. And also particularly, please focus on some activities that you believe becomes helpful for students to understand the reading, yeah, because reading comprehension require understanding. So for example, as what you said, one of that I can hear from you, one of the activities is, for example, the teacher asks the students to write some kind of summary about the text. Now, let's say writing summary is one activities in reading aloud strategy, yeah, things like that. So then that's helpful. I mean, that's helpful for students to improve their reading comprehension. So that's only the example. Yeah, there are many other things perhaps that's directly connected with reading aloud strategies. Now, reading, I mean, the word strategy here also need to be explained in your literature review, because in teaching, you can start from methodology and then strategy and then technique. These are different, I mean, explanations. Strategy usually consists of a few activities or few techniques, yeah. Because reading aloud strategies that used by one teacher can be different from the other teachers, yeah. They use the same strategy, reading aloud, but the activities can be different, but still reading aloud. So that's why you need to explain that one, yeah, in your, particularly in your literature review, because they are some key issues in your proposal. All right, how does the use of reading aloud strategy improve student reading comprehension? Yes, it's good. It's a question, it's also okay. I hope that in your background, you have written the background, you're following my suggestion. Yeah. One important thing in classroom action research background is that you have to mention the problem that you face in the classroom that you are going to, where you are going to do your research. All right, terminology, let's skip that one. I mean, yeah, let's talk about terminology, reading comprehension and reading aloud. Now, here is not only reading aloud, because in your title, you mentioned reading aloud strategy. Reading aloud and reading aloud strategy can be different, yeah. Reading aloud can be, you know, any reading that's using some kind of at the level of sound, yeah, produce, yeah, like to practice pronunciations and pronunciates what you already explained. But reading aloud strategy is kind of teaching strategy, yeah. So that may consist of many activities. Yeah. So please fix this one. Yeah, reading aloud strategy. Should be reading aloud strategy. Reading comprehension. Reading is the ability to process, to understand. Yes. So at least these two things, yes, of your terminology, you can give more. And then next, frame of theory. As I told you, yeah, many times, if you are doing a classroom action research, you have to start from teaching. You have to talk about teaching. In your case, it is more important, yeah, because you mentioned the word strategy. Now, when you are talking about strategy, then you must talk about teaching, yeah, the concept of teaching, or teaching English, for example, like that. And in that section, I mean, a teaching reading, yeah, you can say a teaching reading comprehension. So in that section, you are talking, you have to talk about methods or strategy and technique and of the teaching. So then it become clear, yeah, what you mean by strategy. I think you cannot just explain, yeah, all of a sudden you explain strategy without mentioning methodology, method of teaching. So that's why I think it's better to use to start from methods and then approach and then strategy and technique and so on like that. So then we can see the difference of those and what we mean by strategy. Then you don't have to, I mean, to spend lots here just to explain, yeah, the chronology between methodology, teaching method, I mean, and strategy and techniques. So then then it is easier to understand, yeah. And you can spend more when you are explaining strategy, because that becomes the focus of your research. So teaching strategies, so teaching reading comprehension strategies, things like that. And then after that, then you can talk about reading. Yeah, reading is what here that you have, I mean, that you have done, and following reading comprehension. Yeah. The more important aspect to discuss in reading comprehensions are the skill of reading comprehension to be tested, yeah, in your reading comprehension tests. For example, what skill are included in comprehension, in reading comprehension? Kira-kira apa skill apa saja? What skill are included in reading comprehension? Kalau kita ingin mengukur comprehension seseorang, kira-kira kita bagaimana? Maksudnya kita harus mengukur apanya? Nenek, do you have any ideas? In order to know the improvement, yeah, in order to know the improvement of comprehension, so we have to measure the reading comprehension skills, ya. Jadi kita harus mengukur reading comprehension skill-nya. Nah, sekarang gimana cara mengukur reading comprehension skills? Kira-kira gimana?
Maybe teacher give them a text and ask them what they understand about this text in the first week, and then ask them again in the next week.
In the following week,
Yes, sir.
how much they can remember? Is that what you mean?
No, sir. I think like this. Like a teacher give a text and ask them to read to write what they understand in this text. And the teacher ask them again in the next week what they understand about this text. I think it's not about remembering, sir, but I think about how they understand by text by week and week. Maksud saya tuh kayak seperti apa sih mereka tuh mengerti. Misalkan saya memberikan sebuah teks seperti kepada student saya menyuruh mereka untuk untuk menulis apa sih yang mereka mengerti dari teks ini. Nanti saya kasih lagi teksnya sama mereka, tapi mereka harus menulis informasi yang mereka dapatkan yang lebih dari week pertamanya, sir.
Okay. Ya, intinya, my point is that you have to explain here in your literature review, ya, aspek apa saja yang harus diukur untuk mengukur comprehension. Seperti misalkan kalau kita ikut tes TOEFL, itu kan reading comprehension. Jadi pertanyaannya itu bukan sembarang pertanyaan apa saja, kan pasti ada pertanyaan tentang main idea, tentang detail, reference, inference, ya seperti itu. So then by checking all those skills, so we are sure that they already understand about that. Ya. Jadi itu yang bagian pertama sebenarnya dari literature review kamu. Jadi kamu harus bicara tentang teaching tadi, kemudian teaching comprehension. Nah, dalam teaching comprehension itu kamu harus menjelaskan tentang comprehension. Bagaimana cara mengukur comprehension. Nah, di bagian kedua, you are talking about reading aloud. Nah, di sini reading aloud adalah sebagai teaching strategies. Nah, di sini kamu harus menjelaskan tentang apa itu reading aloud, kemudian bagaimana cara melakukan reading aloud. Karena dia merupakan sebuah strategi, maka kegiatan apa saja, what activities are considered to be a reading aloud strategies. Jadi di sini. Alright, now we go on to research methodology. So your research, classroom action research. Yes, I think you already explained here the procedure. Now, once again, in this step, in this phase, you have to explain more, because in this point, the point action, in this phase, you have to explain about how you are going to conduct reading aloud strategies. Di bagian ini kamu harus menjelaskan seperti apa reading aloud strategy itu akan diimplementasikan di bagian action itu. So then people understand what you mean by reading aloud strategies, as one of the teaching strategies. Okay, next partisipan. Okay. I think you have also to explain about their what's that English teaching, pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di kelas 10 SMA Mentaba itu seperti apa. Nah, kasih informasi supaya agak banyak sedikit lah informasi di sini, tidak hanya satu kalimat, ya. Nanti di dalam real proposal you need more information about the students. Ya. Misalkan kamu bisa cerita di di bagian ini tentang sekolah SMA Mentabah, misalkan kelas 10-nya itu ada berapa kelas, kemudian kamu bisa ngambil yang kelas atau kelas 10-nya hanya 10 kelas yang terdiri dari sekian-sekian gurunya dan sebagainya. So you can explain the setting of the participant. Oke, teknik of the data collection, tekniknya itu namanya adalah measurement, bukan tes, pengukuran ya kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi tekniknya adalah teknik pengukuran, measurement. So there you use measurement because you are going to measure the student comprehension. Ya. Di penjelasannya di sini ada penjelasan tentang mengukur comprehension, aspek apa aja yang akan diukur. Observation, ya itu sudah betul. Jadi yang kedua adalah tekniknya teknik observasi, yaitu cara mengumpulkan data dengan melihat langsung kalau observasi itu. Ya. Nah, toolsnya ya, alatnya yang kita pakai barulah tes, ya, bukan pretest namanya, tes gitu aja. So the tools of data collection is test. Nah, tetapi di bagian ini you have to explain in great detail about your test. Jadi tes comprehension itu misalkan kamu ambil dari mana, kalau memang tidak bikin sendiri atau kamu membuat sendiri. Kalau membuat sendiri, bagaimana membuatnya? Terdiri dari apa saja? Berapa pertanyaan? Multiple choice kah? Apa kombinasi kah? Dan sebagainya. So, you have to explain here, ya, the tools of your collection, data collection. Yang dalam hal ini adalah tes. Jadi tes yang kamu pakai itu apa? Atau kalau kamu sudah memutuskan untuk mengambil tes jenis TOEFL misalkan, so, kamu bisa jelaskan di sini bahwa saya ngambil TOEFL like question misalkan tes misalkan yang diambil atau dikopi dari buku apa gitulah kira-kira dan selanjutnya seperti itu. Kemudian observation checklist juga dijelaskan observation checklist seperti apa yang akan kamu gunakan. Nah, gitu. Pertanyaannya apa saja, cara membuat apa. Justru di sini sudah dijelaskan tentang tentang tesnya, tentang observasinya. Bila perlu kalau sudah ada itu dikasih tahu ada di appendix sekian. Gitu. Nah, disinilah tempat menjelaskan itu semuanya. Ya. Kemudian setelah itu, the last part is actually data analysis. Nah, di sini kamu belum punya kayaknya. Data analysis, ya. Nah, ya kayaknya belum ada, jadi itu ditambah satu section lagi. Data analysis, yaitu bagaimana cara menganalisis tes. Tadi menghitung berarti kalau kita classroom exercise cukuplah dengan mean score gitu aja. Ya hitungan biasa aja, mean score, standard deviation, ada rumusnya lah situ bagaimana cara mencari mean score. Kemudian observation juga mungkin persentase gitu, menghitung persentase. Misalkan aspek sekian, aspek ini ya, aspek misalkan observasi kamu terdiri dari 3 aspek ya. Aspek pertama itu misalkan sekian persen siswa melakukannya dan lain sebagainya seperti itu. Nah, that's ya, sekali lagi ini bagian terakhir adalah bagian data analysis yang missing di sini. You have to make it, ya. To make your proposal complete. Yang terakhir adalah references. Ini it looks okay, sudah. Tetapi kalau dilihat dari APA style, I think you need to fix it, ya, karena ini kalau dari segininya belum mengikuti APA style, ya. Nah, seperti yang sudah saya contohkan kemarin, saya kirim di grup WA kita, contoh artikel yang menggunakan referensinya menggunakan IPS time. Oke, saya kira itu ya, Neneng. So yang jelas your topic is okay. You can go on with this topic. So what I discuss, what I point, yeah, this time. So are those the things that I think you need to fix, ya, or to improve, ya. Di hal-hal yang saya sebut pada hari ini itulah hal-hal yang perlu kamu perbaiki lagi bagian-bagiannya, ya. Saya kira itu, ya. Do you have any questions before we finish?
No, sir.
Ya. Oke lah kalau gitu ya. So I think that's it for